Welcome back to the Stack YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. It's your boy Brazen.
And your boy Double O.
Double O in the house. What's up, brother?
Doing great, sir.
Hey, man. Let's jump right into this awesome show we have here today. So, today we're going to be taking a look at something that is something we all use, right? Something that has evolved over time. And something that we think that it's time for us to rethink how we think of it and how we use it, right? And of course, we're talking about money. Money. The moolah.
Money!
Absolutely.
Money. It's a rich man's war. Okay, all right.
Is it? I think money makes war go round. It's another
song.
Is it a saying or is it a song?
No, it's also a song for it.
Is it a song for it? Oh, okay. Well, there we go. We got that.
A song for everything.
Absolutely. Oh, by the way, before we move forward, on our last video, right, which we spoke about the things that we'll be doing differently this year. One of the things we said was that we're not going to be following mainstream news as usual, right?
Yeah.
And I think the reason I bring that up is because we're talking about money today. And one of the comments on that was actually from Dr. Thomas, right, who is a financial therapist, right? So first of all, Dr. Thomas, thank you for commenting on the video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel as well. Right?
We need to bring him on the show to talk about more money because it's a huge financial advisor.
Exactly. And I'm curious to know what he would think about the conversation we're going to be having today. So I think that's pretty neat. Now, with that being said, I have a question for you, Double O.
Ask away.
What is money, sir?
Money. Oh, Lord. All I know is that for me, all right, I'll keep it simple for everybody out there.
Yeah, to you, what is money to you? What is money for you? Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
It's the value of my time and my resources. Like, you know, like I put in my time, it costs money, you know.
Absolutely.
And then the goal is for it not for it to come to my wallet or come into my life and just live back out. It needs to multiply. You know, that's where the farmer part of me comes in, right? You gotta plant those seeds. So yeah,
absolutely.
Money is the value of my time and my resources.
I like that. You know, I think I would say that I've always kind of just seen money as I guess a measure of exchange, right? A way to exchange value. But I mean, it's one of those things that until I started becoming intentional and until I started really reading more about money and changing my mindset about it, I never gave it too much thought, right? I was just like, well, if you put it,
are you just spending it?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess that's the other thing too. Like
we're just exchanging it left and right, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was one of those things where it was like, hey, I have money, so I can go buy things, right? Yeah. And not much thought behind how far can this money take me and things like that. But you know, eventually over time, as I learned more and more, then that changed. But now we find ourselves in a very interesting place, and I guess where we can start off with this is to just talk about what money is, right? Maybe dictionary definition, what the function of money, if you will, and then let's take a little bit of a history lesson, right? And
take us back.
Yeah, kind of take it back. Look at what money is, what money has been, what money is now, and why we're having this conversation in the first place, right? And most
should I give them a hint? Bitcoin.
Hey, I mean,
is it going there?
Considering the situations we're in right now, right? And so the future of money as well.
Is there?
Right? So I would say just right off the bat, right? I would say the main functions of money, right? Essentially, it has to be that store of value, unit of exchange, and medium of exchange and unit of account.
Yes, sir.
Right, and this is just representing various things, various things that money is capable of executing or carrying out, if you will. So, but before we dive further and dive deeper into the functions of money and things like that, one thing that we know is that over time, money has always changed, right? So how has money changed from the beginning of time to now? I think that was something that
We should talk
for
about.
everyone to know.
To
Let's
know,
talk about
know.
it.
Yeah.
Right. So from the beginning of times, right? So we're going. This is light history now.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to take it all the way back to 1700 BC.
Jesus wasn't even born there before Christ.
People were not even saying Jesus back then. Jesus Christ.
17,000 years ago.
I don't think people were even like using that as an expression, like Jesus.
Yeah.
1700 BC. But again, it's humans from the dawn of, do I want to say from the dawn of time? But from a very early age, right? Humans have always understood that work equals value, right? You have to produce in order to be able to attain other things. So if you're able to produce, you create something, then you can exchange it, right, with someone else who is doing something else. So if you're a farmer, right, then you carry your corn and go to the baker and have the baker, give you some bread and you give him some corn. Yeah,
that's what we call barter, right?
Trade by barter. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
So trade by barter. That was the very first means of exchange
of value,
right?
Or your time.
Exactly. And I think that is interesting because it touches exactly on what you kind of said at the beginning there, what you thought money was, that exchange of time and resources, right? So if the baker is baking for 3 hours, 4 hours, the products that they've created, now they can exchange it with the farmer for whatever, for about an equal amount of effort.
Or maybe a carpenter, like, I have corn, you give me a chair because I need a chair to sit on.
Exactly.
Because I'm tired of planting corns all day.
Exactly, right. And so you need something else. You can eat chairs. So the person with the chair probably needs some corn. But what we find here then is that what is really happening here is that people are exchanging their services, right? Their time and their resources and labor, right, in order to get things that they want. And this worked just fine, right? But the issue with that is now you have to carry maybe a bag of corn or a cow. That's like that's a famous example, right?
That wasn't efficient back then, though.
Right. So you have to now carry your cow and drag it to wherever it is. But now, what if you took a whole cow to the bakery and you just wanted a piece of bread? What do? Do you cut off the cow's leg and exchange it for a piece of bread?
You gotta wait till you have enough. Wait till you kill a cow so that you can have a piece of the leg to trade it for,
and take it there.
And that wasn't efficient because it was just taking too much time, right?
It was definitely not efficient, right? And it's not very divisible, right? Because at some point you have to be able to exchange value across various
time and space.
Time and space, right? Across various spectrums, if you will. You have to be, across the spectrum, you have to be able to exchange value. So that was not divisible.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to know what's funny about that too? People started getting greedy, and then they started stealing other people's corn. So it wasn't secure.
Exactly. So they started stealing other people's resources, right? But then, right, human beings. So that was, you could say, whatever resources the people used at that point in time, they agreed that there was value in it, right? Especially the person that you're trading with, right? If the person needs what you're asking for, they agree that there's value in that, and then you exchange it with them. But universally, maybe you only have a cow, but you come to me and I don't want a cow. Now we cannot trade. So people needed something that they both agreed that this thing is going to be of value, right? So now we roll on to a different system, which was kind of coins. This is like early money, right? So actual gold coins, actual silver coins, right?
Before even that, we had rocks. People had like, this special type of rock.
Exactly, rocks, shells,
and then shells,
kind of
and then they were like, okay, all right, since shell is not that rare, then we found gold, and then we're like, oh wow, okay, we can use gold. We can now start forming gold as it was actual pieces of gold before we started forming the gold into coins and started trading metals. Is it silver? Is it bronze? And then
exactly,
of course, that led to too much shiny stuff.
Too much shiny stuff everywhere.
I you and take your shiny stuff because you got too much of it. I need it in my life.
Exactly. But now, again, this also now brings us back to the fact that because remember, one of the things that, at least the points that we would like everyone to remember here is money has to be divisible, right? It has to be limited supply, which means that it's going to hold that value over time, right? So, but when you switch over to gold coins and seashells and everything else like that, the good thing and the thing that I would like to highlight there is that society at that point in time agreed that there was value in these shares, in these seashells.
This rocks.
There was right. There was value in the rocks. There was value in the gold coins. So you could now just carry your gold coin and exchange it with someone for whatever they had, and it was it was portable. It was a little bit easier to carry around.
Something just clicked.
Okay, what's that?
One is a transfer of energy.
It is a transfer of energy.
It's just the energy just changed form. Because I worked for it, and then it created something, and then that became another form of energy that gets transferred. And then if you get too much of that energy, then you get superstition power, then you get power.
Double up. Dipping into the law of thermodynamics. Okay, there's only a fixed amount of energy in the universe. Cannot be destroyed, cannot be changed, right? Cannot be increased, cannot be reduced. You can only change direct. You can only change form in one direction.
That's money,
right?
Really,
and that is money. And it's incredible because that almost applies to almost everything in life, right? There's only a fixed amount of energy, and right. But then once you start manipulating it, then complications arise, and we're going to get into that, right? But the big thing is society agreed that, hey, you know what? We like these shells. We can exchange this way. But then over time, what we started to see was that you had the kings sometimes recalling some coins, and like they start chipping off coins, or people just chipping off coins, right, to take away value from that coin.
Yeah.
Right.
You melt it to go pick another coin.
Right. So now the gold coin is no longer worth what it was when before you got it, and pass it on to someone else.
Is that the early day inflation, or what do you call that?
That was early day. That was early day currency debasement.
Debasement.
There you go. So they debased the currency, and so that was that was not working out. There was not a way to properly account for it. So eventually, human beings evolved, and I think I again want to emphasize that people in general decided what money was. Right. So everyone decided that, hey, we're going to move over to the gold standard. Right. At this point in time, we were like, what, 1871? About 1871. So now we're on the gold standard. You could accumulate gold. You could store your gold in the bank, and the bank gave you notes, right?
Yeah.
And people were able to exchange. You just exchange notes, because when you give someone a note from the bank, you're telling them like, hey, I have this amount of gold in the bank, and if you go to the bank, you can collect this amount of gold. That works.
Yeah, so gold was the base, right? We say gold was the base to say, okay, this is the set amount of gold that we believe we probably have available right now, right?
Yeah.
Which is that energy, which is the central unit. It's a standard amount of gold that we have. And then we can use that to trade value, resources, and all that good stuff. And I guess that was working.
Cool. So in that case, then, the money, because now the gold notes, right, and the notes and the gold was the currency. It was agreed as a medium of exchange. It was agreed upon as a why do I keep forgetting this? So it was a medium of exchange. It was definitely a store of value. That's the one, and people were able to use that over time. Now the issue with that, what would you say was the issue with gold? I mean, the supply was limited as well.
Yeah, and I think just like you said, part of our studying has been going back to these cycles where you have too much gold, I want your gold, and then boom, too much shiny stuff creates all this greed in the system where people want it for themselves as well. So you can see now they started going into Africa, and they started going into South America, and they're taking over nations. So that was what do you call it? Westernization,
colonization, if you will.
It's not even globalization at that point. It was just going over and taking over everybody.
Yeah, I just think it was more so greed and power, right? So trying to acquire as much, because this I would say this falls under that idea of accumulation, right? Everyone wants to accumulate as much as possible, right?
Yep.
This way they're safe, so to speak.
Yep. Yep.
And but then what happens when you're not able to accumulate more than what is available, right? And we're going to, that's where we start crossing into fiat, right? And so we're going to get to that as well.
Yep.
But I think one of the issues with gold as well was just the fact that it wasn't very portable, right? So
it was not.
You could not transfer your wealth, right? Because it's a store of value. So if you have a bunch of gold and you wanted to move your wealth somewhere else, it's much more difficult to move it around. So
it was more expensive to secure and sustain as well.
Exactly. Definitely not efficient. But the thing is, humans kind of, or society, society, right, agreed that, hey, we're okay with this gold thing. Again, money changed from just trade by barter to using resources that represented that value, and then we went over to gold. But then this is where things become very interesting, because around 1971, right, we moved over to the Fiat system, right? So then this was essentially just money by decree, where the government just came out, right? It was Nixon, right? Was it Nixon at the time? Yeah, I believe it was Nixon.
Yeah. This is when we're trying to get up the gold standard, right?
Yes. Yeah. So everything is going well, and then the president comes out and is like, "Hey, turn in your gold.
By the way,
and we'll give you this cash, and we'll back it ourselves." Go ahead.
By the way, before we jump to 1971, 1944, 1945, World War II was all about, hey, we're going to switch and control who has the most gold. And luckily, America wins that war. We had 80% or 90% of the world's gold at that time. So now we now get to tell people, okay, this is what the new standard is going to be under our own supply of gold. And then that's all that. But that's basically Ottoman Empire, Shanghai Empire, just name all the different empires. Everybody was trying to accumulate. So then we came all the way to World War II, which was another trying to accumulate all the gold, and America happens to now own all those gold, which is why in 1971 we were able to be the one to say this is where the new direction of money should be. And then we now say we're going to make it here. I mean, we had notes and currencies then. When we still had the US dollar back then, we still had the pound, but we wanted to now make a new direction.
Now, this is one thing. It seems like it's and I mean we're pretty sure this is also true now. But one thing that seems to have played a major factor, right? At that point when we were getting to the end of the gold standard and crossing into fiat, was the fact that it was war, right? It's the fact that these countries were at war. And we know that when a country is at war, that is quite capital intensive, right? So it depletes your resources. And when your resources are depleted, now you become vulnerable. But then what if you could create money that does not exist to fund your war, right? You now move over to the fiat system, which is essentially what it is, right? Where the government takes the gold and they're like, hey, we're going to insure this money, we're going to back this money. So now it's just based on trust in the government. So when people say the dollar is backed by something, I mean, I guess that would be a question. What is the dollar backed by?
By trust. It's no longer backed by gold. It used to be backed by gold until 1971. Now it's just backed by trust the government.
It's just backed by trust, right?
And the reason why we ended up doing that is because we spent all our money and gold on wars, and then we had no more resources, and we had no choice but to switch to fiat.
Exactly, and you see where that took us. Trusting, putting full trust in other people, right? But these are things that I think that there's solutions to them, right? These are things that there's solutions to them. But let's carry on. So we moved over to fiat, and now the government is able to create money and fund wars, and then in return, then they take all this spending that they're doing. So they're creating all of this debt, right? And they're saying, oh, national debt is here now, it's here, and it keeps rising and it keeps rising. And then in turn, we the people have to pay for it through taxes, inflation, etc., etc. It does not seem like I
It's no
don't.
longer a
It does not
medium
seem
of
like a
exchange. It's no
yeah.
longer a
It does
medium
not
of
seem
exchange
like a
of value.
fair deal to me. Wouldn't you say?
I mean, I will answer that question real quick. It's no
Okay.
longer a medium of exchange of value. It's a medium of exchange of X, which is anything.
Right.
Right? You just make it up over time. But then to
Right.
answer your question, right, it's not fair. But the reality is that humankind, when you look at the different civilization, which
Hmm.
seems to be very similar what's going on now, it's happened civilization after civilization, right?
Right.
You win the war, you now have full control of it, but then we put you in power, but then you are abusing the power, and now you change the currency just to benefit yourself and those that have accumulated most of the power, which is most of the money. And
Right.
then things go south, which is kind of what we are starting to see right now at the current moment. You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's the other thing. The other part about other thing I'll add on to that as well is the fact that now you're able to with all this printing of money that happens in the
yeah,
fiat system, right? Every time the money is printed, the money that's already out in circulation loses its value.
yes, it does.
So now that your money is able to buy you less and less. I mean, I guess kind of also ties in with inflation as well.
Hmm.
Um, Even though this was much more portable, right? It
Hmm.
was easier to store, easier to carry around. It was a great medium of exchange.
I
I would
wasn't
say that.
sure if the energy required to make gold and the
Mhm.
energy required to make fiat is part of kind of what we talked about during the last video.
Yes.
Are they the same, or did it get better? Or the amount of energy required to keep fiat running, did it get worse than gold?
I think the amount of energy for fiat. So fiat is inefficient
Hmm.
in a different way from gold
Gold, yeah.
and trade by barter, right? Because with gold, trade by barter and whatever else was used in between, then you had to put in time,
Time,
effort on an individual level,
yeah.
right? At the very least, to be
Which,
able to create this value to
yeah,
produce, right? And then
yeah,
when you produce, now you can exchange.
correct.
However, with fiat,
You just make it up.
it's that yeah, there is no. I mean, at this point in time, it's a matter of just typing numbers, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And it changes everything. So
yep.
when now there is that lack of work,
Hmm.
proof of work,
Hmm.
proof of work, right? See
Hmm.
where we're going with this? Proof of
Hmm.
work. When there is that lack of proof of work now, you're creating, I don't want to say counterfeit, but you're creating nothing. It's just papers, right?
Yeah,
Because, and these papers are just backed by the fact that the government says it is valuable. And the fact that, everyone accepted, well, they did not have a choice, but everyone kind of went with it. So,
so are you trying to say now that America and China are creating fake money because we're the two world power and we just get to print all sorts of currency whenever we feel like, all sorts of fiat
well,
when we feel like it?
here's obviously the value of the American economy is within its productivity over the past years, right? The Industrial Revolution and things like
Yeah.
that. All these
Oh,
innovations that came
so we're
about.
living on the old classics.
Right, right. So the America's GDP was great. I think that was its great strength, but it's not necessarily the case at this point in time.
Yeah.
So when you had those dollars at the
Hmm.
beginning, and your country has all of these other assets to go with it, strong military as well, providing security for other countries, I think that was proof of work.
Yeah.
Those countries could have and should have been paying America directly, right, to keep the economy rich. But of course, there's a bunch of other things that fall in there
Here
for.
they were, IMF. That was why
That's true.
the IMF was for the place on the World
Right,
Bank.
right. I mean, but I mean, if it's not, it clearly wasn't going so well, because if it was, America would be richer than it is right now.
Hey, folks were paying back for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just mismanaging.
Exactly. So, and yeah, definitely mismanagement is definitely another problem, right? So all of this happens, and now we're now, we're now in this place where, well, before we even move forward, we'll just recap on what is happening. All right. I mean, what we've understood so far from what is happening with money.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we can definitely say that there's a lot of risk.
Yeah, I mean,
with money.
Let's just connect the dots. So yeah, like you just said, from trade and barter to fiat, which is kind of what we're still in now, right?
Yeah.
There's been this change of human beings trying to play God, right? Trying to change that form of source of energy, right? The energy is supposed to be constant, and it's supposed to just move from one state to another, which was why barter worked really great. It was slow, it was not that efficient, but then by the time we got to fiat, we've made it even a lot much worse, because now we're creating fake energy and now saying that it's worth certain value.
Yeah.
Right. So now money has been speculatively changed, which now creates a lot more risk in the whole global system as it is, in the whole network of things, in the whole, maybe that's why we have this whole issues with globalization, which is resulting in, hey, guess what? Natural disasters or
stuff like that.
Everything. It's connected.
I would say that is something that is consistent with the history of money and nation states, right?
Yeah.
They accumulate a bunch of money, right? Then there is corruption. People get power drunk, right? There's misallocation of funds. And so now we have this continuous wave where the money starts off great, runs up, and then all those things that I just listed come into play, and then it crashes again. And it's happened over and over again, right? We have the Great Depression.
Yep.
The 70s depression, 80s global recession,
2000 crash, 2008.
Exactly, 2008.
Do we blame that on the central banks though, or the centralized control of money? Because after trade and barter, which was decentralized, everything has been centralized since then. And I think the more centralized it got, the more civilizations pop up and crash.
Right.
And then, we had, after World War II, we can say maybe a new civilization started, which was America.
I would say we can blame it on centralization, because the big issue with centralization is that you are trusting people.
Human beings, which accumulates the power.
Exactly. And so you're trusting these people and you have no say over what they do on a day-to-day basis.
You thought you had a say when you elected them into power.
Right. Exactly.
But over time, it just goes poof.
Exactly. And things only got more and more sophisticated after that, whether it's using media to influence people, right? So there's many examples of where media has been used to push out a problem, and then
you accumulate the money, then you accumulate the power, and then you use the power to buy the media, and then use the power to buy the elected officials, and then before you know it, you're about to screw up another civilization.
Yeah, man, the car is already upside down. So it's like centralization is definitely the issue, because you could pretty much do whatever you want, man. I mean, create an issue, provide a solution, look like the hero, and in that process, right, they seem to have continuously taken people's rights away, right? And this is all across, right? It's unfortunate.
All the nations. It's not unique to America. It's in China. Yeah. China is just a bit different.
Exactly.
We have capitalism, they have communism, but it's still the same issue.
Right. And so, unfortunately, I think that there's elements of these things that are starting to show up in America. Because it's definitely not what it was before. Now, we are currently sitting on what could be the next. I mean, it's already happened. We have the pandemic happened, right? We saw that massive crash there. Right now, the markets are definitely disconnected from the economy.
Sure. Right. Let's just wait till the Feds increase interest rates and see what happens.
Exactly. So, and again, I guess this kind of rolls into just the money problem we're having today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Geez, can you even list them? How many can you think of right now?
I mean, you can ask the audience what problem you got with money right now.
Yeah.
My money cannot afford, like the money I started out 2021 with cannot afford to even buy me bread by the end of 2021.
And that's the thing. I would ask, like, what would you say has been the biggest impact in your personal economy ever since the pandemic and the current situation we're in? Right? So,
Well,
comment down below. Let us know how you
I
are
would say
affected
mine.
by the current. Yeah.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, say that. Ask that question again before I give my answer.
So, how have you been personally impacted? How has your personal economy been impacted by the current situation of the U.S. economy or the world economy? Because really, the whole world is in
The money
turmoil right
problems.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. So, what would be your answer to that?
I mean, I wasn't intending on buying a car. I would have loved to get a car, but do you know that the price of used cars now? I'm not even sure what the exact percentage is,
It definitely
but
went up. It's not the same.
super high. Cars that are two,
Yeah.
3 years old are still selling for the same price as a new car.
Absolutely.
I mean, that kills it for me.
I've seen some ridiculous prices online. It was just not realistic.
Yeah, another one. I got another one. I was doing a budget analysis with the wife over the weekend, and I'm like, wait a second, grocery bills have gone up.
Yeah.
$200 extra that you got to spend now just to get the same thing we were spending on last few months ago.
Yeah, groceries are definitely one of those ones, and I think that's for all of us, man, because it's like, what happens? And the interesting thing is, remember, I mentioned something earlier about the government sometimes with in conjunction with the media creating problems and then stepping in to solve the problems, and in that process someone loses their rights. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to be someone. You have the current situation where the supply chain is all backed up right now, right?
And so blame it on COVID.
Right. Some people blame it on COVID, or you have people like geez, I can't even remember her name. Who's the senator who said she was Indian but she wasn't? Warren. So you have Elizabeth Warren who starts insinuating, and Biden actually also kind of said something about this the other day. They're like, hey, we're seeing that prices are going up, and it's the grocery stores that are price gouging, right? And so now there's this issue, right? I know it sounds crazy, right?
Going to increase the prices if the price of oil is up.
Exactly.
To transport, the manufacturing of the products has also gone up. Of course, the grocery prices have no choice to transfer the cost to the customers. Cause and effect goes back to the old energy factor. The old money is energy. Like it took the grocery store a bunch of energy to get that product there.
Right. But now check this out then. When they say something like that, then they use the media to push out the narrative that, hey, prices are going up because these stores are greedy, they're making a lot of profit and they want to increase prices on you. Then they come in and say, hey, we're going to control prices. Price control. Where now they seem like the people who are trying to reduce these prices for the people. Right. Now that starts to affect the free markets. That creates even more shortages, because if you start controlling prices, then the factories cannot produce as much, right? Because everyone starts running into this loss. And at that point in time, the government is in full control. And I don't think that's something we want.
I mean, the initial role of the government was not to centralize control over everything. A good example is increasing taxes on my house. Why increasing taxes? But the government, like you just said, the problems are a result of previous decisions made about money. And we tend to just keep passing that ball down the road and making up fake solutions. And the process of making that solution, we're making matters worse. We're basically destroying the current civilization that we're in. It's just like almost history's about to repeat itself again. Yeah, and then people are going to get fed up and tired of it. And then the revolution starts. And then, which we're seeing before COVID became a big issue. There was freaking people on the streets every week all over the world before COVID became a big thing. And people were just starting to get tired of the government's role in everything. The government watches everything that you do. Now the government want access to your bank account because they want to charge you more taxes. But is that solving the problem? We have to go back and solve the problem with money.
I think you said something very interesting there, right? Because before the pandemic happened, there was a lot of protest going on, and I think people have forgotten this because obviously we're all locked down for like a year, and then everyone's focus turned to the pandemic, right? But before this happened, before the pandemic happened, the world was about to catch on fire, if you will. There were riots everywhere across the world, protests. I mean, China was losing its shit
China,
as always. You
Nigeria,
know what I mean, they were just all
Afghanistan, Iran, Israel.
yeah. And so
America.
then you have to really start asking yourself, like, well, it's convenient that COVID, that the pandemic happened at the time when it did. Not making any suggestions, but I'm just saying it's convenient, right? Extremely convenient that it happened
Just
at that time, right? And ever since then, people have just kind of like looked away, right? Not look back into it. So I would say right now, definitely some of the biggest problems that we're having right now with money, right? For one, we have the value of money is not holding. You have inflation, so it's not saving. It's not serving as a great store of value.
You've destroyed the entire purpose of money. Like money isn't money anymore. The moment you do that, it's just like, okay, then why am I working?
Exactly.
If I work and I'm supposed to have $1, but then my dollar is now worth 50 cents, then somebody's subtracting energy from something. Like how are you able to do that?
You can't do that. You cannot add or reduce energy.
Nope.
It only changes form. Right.
Yep.
And so we're now in this situation where the money is not really a great store of value, because if you're holding some money and then a little bit after, it's no longer worth the same thing. And in the US, our currency is just falling the slowest, right? Because you have other countries where their currency is pretty much about to collapse.
Dude, I just got back from Nigeria, man. People are suffering back there. Golly.
There you go. Right.
Man, you can't even you could buy cement and build a house, but the cost to even buy the cement to build a house now is like freaking
insane, right? God. So that is not working out, right? And so people have to ask themselves, how do we solve that problem? Right? We're gonna get into it. The next thing as well, money is supposed to be this. So your store of value is your expression of value over time. So the money holds the value over time. Now you have medium of exchange. I guess it's still a medium of exchange. That's fine, and it's great. Like you can, and it's easily portable as well,
or even traded. Which the Dutch created. Let's create the stock market where you can now trade energy.
Exactly right.
Centralized way of trading energy, trading money.
The biggest issue that I find with fiat is, which is I would say if we can solve this one issue, it starts opening the doors to resolve everything else that is wrong with fiat, right? And it's the fact that it is centralized.
Yep.
Right. It is centralized,
controlled by governments that are supposed to be public servants. But now, because of the current state that we are in the civilization, the centralized power has not been controlled by those that have accumulated the most money or has been influenced by the most money.
Absolutely. So we've seen that previously when things are centralized.
Manipulation.
There's manipulation.
Media manipulation.
I mean, if you look at this, the stock market is one of those ones, man.
Man, because
even that's obviously like even investments right now. I don't know if you could really say investments in the stock market are safe, or most traditional investments, right? Because if inflation is rising at the rate at which it's rising, all right, which, I mean, what did they say it was 6.5% or something like that? But realistically, it's more close to like 9 or 10% or more. But let's just say we are at 9%, right, or 10%. What assets can you go into that will be able to keep up with that rate of inflation? And considering the fact that they're talking about printing even more money, right? Because if you look at the current system that they're using, they're kind of in a situation, the government is kind of in a situation where there's not a good way out.
Yeah, you can't solve the problem until you print more money. And in the process of printing more money, You kill the money. Oh, it's like
Exactly, right? So which kind of brings us to that whole point of a fixed supply. There is not a fixed supply, and when one person can just print the money,
like God.
then
Yeah.
everyone else suffers for that reason as well. Now,
Yeah.
it seems all. I mean, it seems like we're pretty much going to hell from here, from everything we've been talking about so far. But then it's like,
I mean,
at the
for
same time,
for those that know and go back and
Right.
study history and pay attention to these things, yes, we're like, oh my God, this is scary. This is scary. Like, what's going to happen?
It
And
is
then
scary.
and that's one of the reasons of what we do here at Stack is that we want to get the information out there instead of you sitting down watching the football games and the basketball games. Take a few minutes and watch what we do here. Try to get information out to you. Like, the world is changing as we know it right here in front of you. And the money that we have that we're using right now is in serious trouble.
Absolutely.
Serious trouble.
And here's the thing: I think even if people don't want to take what we say for they don't take us at our word. I think one of the most important things we can possibly do is for someone to be in a position where they start to think about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's say, for example, if you think we're wrong, then you go and start researching it. This is great.
Yeah, that's good.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you have disagreements, definitely drop it in the comments down below.
Yep.
If you have other examples of how you think this system is essentially outdated, that's the word
Yep.
I'll use, right? I think that the current system that we're using is outdated. It's run its course, and it's been the same thing over and over again, right? Every time there is a massive downturn, a massive crash, society finds a way out of it by ditching the outdated system. For some reason, fiat is the only one that has failed over and over again, and for some reason, there was never a move forward. There were not any major changes made to avoid the same thing from happening again.
Fiat is like Fiat is like Kenny. It keeps coming back.
It's like it keeps coming back. Hey man, it's time to evolve, sir. It's time to evolve, all right? But again, I think that the big thing that needs to happen here is that money has to change again.
Yeah. But I have a question though. Before we even go to that, are we reaching the end? Are we headed towards the end of another civilization? The way we're going, or if money changes, it kind of delays the end of the civilization.
I don't know if we'll say the end of the civilization yet.
Oh, we got so much drama going on left and right.
Yeah, I mean, if you combine everything, we're definitely heading towards the end of civilization. Civilization as we know it, for sure. However, there are clear paths that we can take to right the wrongs, if you will, right? Or at least minimize the rate at which we're heading to the end.
It goes back to the decisions the centralized powers make, because they're the one that are going to get us there much faster.
Exactly. But then here's the other thing I'll also say with that. It's a lot of things that we're doing right now are based off much earlier ideas, right? And so a lot of these things are no longer as efficient as before. And that's something that we spoke about as well, right? Improving efficiency, right? Aggregate efficiency. Until we do that, and well, that's really what needs to happen for us to change direction.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say we're definitely in a revolution.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of people becoming aware and taking action.
Someone out there is probably going to ask, what is aggregate efficiency?
Let's see how can we describe that. So I would say aggregate efficiency, you would say you've probably heard of the 80-20 rule, right? For the amount of effort put in, how much of it actually turns out a result, right? How much of it actually makes a change. So I would say aggregate efficiency is just combined everything that an economy does, right? Or whether it's productivity and all that kind of stuff, for how much work they've put into it, right? How much of it is actually being, passed on to the general public, and how much of it is actually enabling growth. within the
innovation.
economy,
Yeah.
right? Like let's say, for example, let's say if we take electricity for example, we know that a lot of fossil fuels have to be burnt to create electricity. The process of creating electricity itself right now is very costly, right?
It's not efficient. Yeah.
Yeah, probably not the best for the environment.
Yeah.
So by the time the power gets to your house, how much unnecessary energy has been burned to get it to you? And then while the power is in your house, how much of it do you have to use? How much of it do you really use versus how much that goes to waste, right? And so, when you zoom out and you look at this as a whole, right? I think Germany was one of the countries that got to Japan was actually the country that actually attained the highest level of aggregate efficiency, followed by Germany. And the US is way down.
We like to waste stuff, man.
There's a lot of countries that are ahead of the US when it comes to this.
Yeah.
So I think to be able to do that, right? Let's say for our money, for example, we have to switch over to things that are much more smarter, because that's where we are. We're using things that we're building the second industrial revolution, right?
Yep.
We're using ideas and technology that we built on that second industrial revolution, and it just does not work.
I think
in a digital age. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're stuck on the second industrial revolution and the beginnings of the digital ages, digital revolution, because of centralization as well,
Absolutely.
or monopolization. Monopoly that as well.
Yeah, monopoly, centralization. I guess it's kind of sort of the same, but we are now on this point where it's like, and this is the point where I would say it's really a good idea for all of us to really take a step back and look at what is money and what is causing this whole cycle that we're in.
Yeah.
Right? And for us to open our minds to the idea that since money has been changing, right? Maybe this is just another point in time where it's time for money to change again.
Yeah, and maybe we can change it for the better this time around.
Absolutely. Well, let's not say we can, but it's already changed, right? Because this is where we'll bring about, let's say we'll talk about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
For example, right? Decentralized finance, not DeFi, but the first
decentralized money,
working decentralized money, right? And over the years, obviously, you've heard people like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger. I mean, who else is there?
Other big names. Even Ray Dalio didn't believe in it initially.
Ray Dalio did not believe in it. Peter Schiff, for some reason, that guy still does not believe in it.
Literally, all the centralized money holders, those that have accumulated a lot of the current fiats, do not believe this new age of money.
That's well put. That's exactly what it is. Everyone who has benefited the most from fiat, right, does not believe in it. But then, if you take a step back and you really look at what Bitcoin is, right, we now have this asset, which is completely decentralized, a great store of value, can be used as a medium of exchange. I know people will bring up gas fees and things like that, but try paying for something with Ethereum, right?
Or maybe the energy consumption or the level of efficiency.
Right, they talk about, look, man, Bitcoin is definitely more efficient than fiat.
I will say that. Again, we're gonna do a video about that to kind of put the numbers together so that we can show you guys how efficient it is.
But I'll just do like a quick overview, just off the top of my head from what I can think of. Currently, Bitcoin is a great store of value, great medium of exchange, and of course, a great unit of account. Give some good examples as to why. I'm diving into it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that this asset meets all of these things 100%. There is no question about it, no doubt about it, right? With the Lightning Network and things like that, transactions will happen with significantly lower fees. So that is going to be solved, right? Things evolve over time. Technology has to evolve. But now you're holding this one asset, which eliminates the need for a bank. Right, and when you eliminate the need for a bank, that is hundreds of thousands of buildings that no longer have a use, right? Electricity being paid on those buildings, maintenance, employees, all of those things,
Security, protecting
right?
it,
Security, all of that
military.
stuff, which does not need to be there anymore. Just right there is a massive improvement on our efficiency, right? Just by adopting Bitcoin.
Can I say something though, real
Yeah,
quick?
go ahead.
All right. The funny thing though is that people don't. We gotta fill that gap between the thought process and the technology. Is
Yeah.
that Bitcoin is money put into digital? Like it's no longer fiat paper,
Yeah, it's
but
just digital
digitizing it,
currency.
and
Yeah,
then not just digitizing it, but even making it a lot more efficient through the blockchain technologies, right?
right.
And what people don't realize is that they've tried to fix the issue of money a while back with the internet, but
Yes.
because of centralized powers, that whole ideology of the internet fixing our money problem went away because of the other technologies that came on top of the internet, which then made a lot of more people rich, which is great. Internet solved a lot of problems. It created a lot more innovation. But then one of the big problems that the internet was supposed to solve, it never solved, which was money. And now
Right.
here comes Bitcoin trying to solve it again.
Absolutely. And it's doing a great job at solving
Yeah.
it, right? We see countries like El Salvador, which has already adopted Bitcoin.
Hmm.
More and more countries are talking more about using Bitcoin. We have Bitcoin ETFs coming up. So I would say the rate at which technology is rising, first of all, is unmatched, unlike any other time. And so we cannot go back, because one of the biggest things is that this is a massive change, obviously, and people do not like change. Generally, people tend to resist change. However, I would say that it is more powerful if you learn about it, educate yourself about it, because most of the time, people mostly fear things that they do not know. And if you educate yourself about it and you learn more about it, then you start to realize that, hey, this is money that they cannot just sit there and print more of it, because it's definitely going to be a fixed supply as well.
Hmm.
This is money that is borderless. You can transfer money. You can transact with anyone across the world.
Can I expand on that? By the
Go
way,
for that. Go for it.
when that old, I'll say, I'm trying to figure out the different civilizations that we've had, right?
Right.
The old accumulation, and then you have to protect it. So when you accumulate, you gotta protect, and you create borders. That now
Yeah.
became the nation states, right? Then we have all
Right.
these, and we have wars between countries because folks are trying to protect their assets or what they've built over time. And then they went
Mhm.
further out to accumulate other countries and bring them under, the British Empire and the Dutch and the Portuguese and the Spaniards. And then
Mhm.
basically destroy human nature in the process of money, right?
Right.
But
Right.
then Bitcoin comes along and say, hey, and I think old money is going to fight really hard. This is definitely going to happen. So they have to fight because you've solved the issue of money, but you've also created the problem for them. Because now they can move money across borders. So now
Right.
why do we have nation states? The whole reason why you have nation states is to protect your money. Now,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
they have the other technologies that come on top of Bitcoin, which is the metaverse. And now
Right.
says, you know what? You don't have to be a citizen of a specific nation to work somewhere else. You can work anywhere around the world because you're in the metaverse. You're not
Right.
entitled to a specific nation state. Old money is going to fight hard.
Right. I completely agree with you. I think that those are definitely. I mean, talk about use case, right? Super use case. I think that's one of those. And of course, something that you also mentioned there that kind of brought another idea to my mind was, you know, the idea of nation states protecting all these assets, right? And they have to protect these assets. This is why they have military, and of course, through that accumulation situation, the accumulation process, where people try to go conquer other nations, uh, we have war. Now, when we got off the fiat standard, when we got off the gold standard and went to fiat, as we mentioned before, one of the biggest things that happened once we switched over to fiat was that a lot of this money being printed gave governments the ability to pretty much fight on ending wars. Right? If you're running out of money,
We
just
were
print more
fighting
and
war
tax the people.
before that,
Right?
but then we ran out of money. I was like, oh crap, we need more money. Then we
Yeah,
switched to Fiat Standard. Then crap, we've been in the war since then, non-stop.
absolutely, absolutely. So then, if imagine if society adopts Bitcoin, and now we're all operating on the Bitcoin standard, which, by the way, if you've not read that book, it's a great book. But yeah,
Bitcoin Standard.
Bitcoin standard
Check
is
that out.
it's a great right.
It's a good book too, by the way. You gotta read it.
It's a great book to read, absolutely. But now we're now operating on this Bitcoin standard, right, where everyone is on this blockchain with fixed supply. I think one of the most incredible things that happens at that point in time is that you could separate money from government.
Mm. And I think it's an advantage for the government, so the government can do what they
Yeah.
do better. But
Absolutely.
governments are not
Absolutely.
seeing that. They basically they say, okay,
They're still stuck in their old ways, man.
no,
It
no,
is it is
they're not stuck in their old ways. Old money has influenced government, so
right.
they pay the government to protect their old money. So of course they will ban Bitcoin because it's going to affect old money. But what if government plays their role, they will rather implement Bitcoin because it creates more transparency and allows them to actually do government work a lot more efficiently.
Exactly. Well,
There's no more manipulation. There's no more money in government. There's no more delusion. All this issue we have with inflation, we can better manage it. We can better
it's
govern. You
going
can better vote.
leadership can be pure. Leadership can be pure.
Civil servants, you can do your job.
Exactly. Government is government. Hey, governments are civil servants. They were put there by the people, and I think that they have way forgotten that.
Mm.
You know, but again, the way I look at it, I think that a lot of these systems are outdated. Like I get it, it worked, it got us to where we are, but we have to be open minded to improving on it. Right?
Remember when
It's
the
the same
internet
with
first came
anything
out?
else.
Remember when
Yeah.
the internet first came out? Don't get on the internet. They will steal all your information. They will steal all your data. What the hell?
Yeah.
Even like, who was this guy that said email was bullshit? Oh, excuse my French.
You're good.
They didn't believe in email back then. They didn't believe in the internet.
Oh yeah,
Nobody
dude.
believed in it.
Email was banned at some point. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
email was banned at some point.
Yeah.
Some
email
countries
was
even
banned.
banned the internet.
Yeah.
Look at why we're here today.
Everyone is using it. You can't. They don't even send paper mails like that anymore. You know. So it's definitely something that I mean this is a reason to look into Bitcoin if you ask me, right?
Hey.
Because it really it fulfills all the I guess the characteristics of money. If you
Can you make fake currencies with Bitcoin?
no,
You can make fake Bitcoin. It's an open ledger.
counterfeit Bitcoin, right? It's
No, you
just the
can
way it
counterfeit.
is. Exactly. Everyone can see the transactions on it. So I don't know. We have now this money that is dilution free, right?
Mhm.
People cannot just print more of it, right?
Mhm.
It checks all the boxes, right? Store value, unit of exchange, unit of account, and then it's universally verifiable because you can go anywhere in the world and use Bitcoin.
Sure.
It is durable. It
Mhm.
is scarce. There's difficulty in producing it, right? You have to invest money if you're even going to mine Bitcoin and stuff like that. And it also improves the efficiency of a lot of different things while potentially reducing the amount of corruption that we have.
Mm.
And yet,
You know the biggest part?
someone like Warren Buffett still says that it's for extortionists. It's
Exactly.
I
You know,
don't
you,
understand.
you know why? You know why?
Why is that?
It takes away the centralized control. That's the
I don't
biggest
understand
solution.
that. But that's the thing, though. They're afraid. They're afraid of it. Now, of course, I know that these people are going to fight tooth and nail
Mm.
to preserve their system. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think that is going to be like an easy peasy thing where everyone is like, "Hey, go adopt Bitcoin," and everyone just go adopts Bitcoin.
Can I
There's
give you a
definitely
good
going to
answer
be a
to
fight.
that? Can I
What's
give you a
that?
good answer to that? At the
What's that?
end of every revolution,
Right.
money transfer ends from the old money to the new money. Happens all the time. End of World War
Mm.
II. money transfer ends from Russia and
Right.
China, those guys, to America. So again, the energy, it's supposed to just change
It
ends. That's what
transfers.
money,
Yeah.
it transfers, it's supposed to switch. You're not supposed to be creating all this fake money. Well, anyway, long story short, when this Bitcoin thing happens, which is what the old money is fighting, is that they're fighting the transfer of the energy
Of
into
energy.
everybody's ends.
Yeah. And diluting their power, because that's what Bitcoin is naturally doing.
When it happens, it's happened over time. And again, it's just like it's about to happen again. So instead of them
Exactly.
fighting back, now you've started to see some banks and some of this big money saying, oh, put 3% of your wealth, put 1% of your wealth into Bitcoin.
Into
They start
Bitcoin. Yeah.
starting to realize that this is not a battle that they can win. Some of them will fight, they're still fighting. But the
Yeah,
reality is
they're
that
definitely gonna fight it,
it's
for
a
sure.
cycle that happens every time over time over time. And I think we are currently experiencing one of those times of the
Yeah.
transfer of wealth into decentralization.
Into this, absolutely. I mean, and I think, as long as they keep fighting it, I think it only proves the reason why Bitcoin needs to be there.
Mm.
Right? Because every time when they're fighting these things, you're really, I mean, at some point you really have to look at it, because it also becomes a morality issue, man.
Mm.
Right? If you look at the turmoil that fiat has caused across the world, whether it's from blood diamonds to
Global
people just
warming.
being global warming, people being extorted for their time and resources just to make more money and stuff like that. I mean, I get it. I guess people are always going to keep doing that even under Bitcoin, but there is just a point in time where, and there's features about Bitcoin that disincentivize things like that.
Yeah.
Right. Because for one, you can't just keep printing money, because when obviously you print money and it really benefits the people who are at the top.
That's
right?
all it does. The money just
so,
goes all the way back. Look at what happened with the PPP loans. What happened? Well, this is America now, right?
yeah.
During COVID and all the money that got printed out.
Yeah.
Go and do your research. Majority of the money is sitting in the banks of the top 1%.
Of the top 1%.
Just
that's interesting about it
that?
too, because it's like they printed this money and gave it to everyone, and everyone turned around and spent it on the people that don't
That are
have the
producing.
money. Exactly. So it's like, whew. I mean, this is how Amazon got even more valuable,
Bigger
during
and Apple,
during
Microsoft,
the
and all
pandemic.
these guys. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
So
even the amount that they gave them was more than the amount that they gave the regular people, because of
exactly.
course they needed them to produce.
We for back when I had the gym, I think we got like 30K, but then we paid off the thing back, because it was like, no, is it that one? No, that's not the one we paid off. But we did get a people below like 30K, and it was like a super low interest rate. But when we tried to get another one, they were like, no. But our business was in a place where it needed the funds at the time. We were closed for like over 3 months and stuff like that. But for the bigger firms, especially like the online businesses that did not really need it, like your Amazons and your Walmarts and things like that, hey, they got to benefit significantly from that. A lot of small businesses closed, and when those small businesses closed, guess where all of their businesses went to the big guys. So it was it's definitely something that we need to really, everyone really needs to take a look at it, because where we are right now, they cannot just roll this back. They cannot just roll back this money printing that has happened, and
We can't solve any problem unless we print more money.
on
Infrastructure bill, we must print more money to fix the infrastructure.
What about tapering? What about tapering? Dude, if they even just tried, man, the whole market is crashing. But then, if you look at it, maybe that's what needs to happen, right? If fiat is to be able to hold, but again, while that is happening, what is going to be happening to your assets? Because I know I'm going to be holding Bitcoin, because I think everyone is going to be trying to avoid that and go into Bitcoin. That is one of the things that a lot of these smaller countries that have much weaker economies are doing. Many of them are moving their money into Bitcoin to protect it from how much their currency is crashing, or they're switching into US dollars, which is also crashing, but it's just crashing slower than their country's currency.
Remember, Bitcoin conference, November of 2021. And when you're learning about what smart money is doing with their money right now, smart money is converting their monies into actual fiat currency, buying gold, and buying Bitcoin. So if you're listening to this call and you want to know what the big guys, the 1% are doing with their money, that is exactly what they're doing with the money right now, because they know something is off.
Unless if you're Peter Schiff, they only buy gold and
It's just
sit
buying
there
gold.
forever.
But again, so
This is the thing.
let's
Man.
say,
Here's the thing, because look, if you look over the past 10 years, okay, despite what people have said about Bitcoin has returned an average of 200%. Okay, on average, year over year for the past 10 years continuously. Gold has not done that. As a matter of fact, gold performed horribly because gold is supposed to be a hedge, remember. But when the pandemic hit, what happened to gold?
Fell along with it.
It did not act as a hedge. So I have my questions about that one. Now, I did buy some gold, but I feel like I just want to buy gold so that I can actually have a gold brick one day. But
that's the question I have. So everything goes bust, and then you can now gotta go get a machine gun, which and get weaponize yourself to protect your piece of gold, which someone can just whack you at the back of the head when you're not looking, and your gold is gone. But then my Bitcoin, if you kill me, you ain't gonna touch it. It's still stored in my ledger somewhere.
Exactly.
Isn't that better than gold? That someone can whack you off for it?
That is definitely better than gold. But that's the thing. This revolution that is happening, it's not going to be one fought with guns, right, and bullets. And a lot of the stuff that is coming up in the near future is not going to be good, I think. And especially as the legacy system tries to fight this, things will only become more and more, I don't want to say depressing, but not great. However, right, I think that there is a solution to everything, right? And to get into that solution, we need to take action, right? Taking action.
Can I copy Nike for 1 second?
Go ahead.
Just do it.
Just do it. Take action, right? Exactly.
Just buy Bitcoin.
Right? And so what can we do, right? Because
what can you do?
Clear, right? Hey, what can I do? Hey, I'll tell you what I'm doing. Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm doing, right? First of all, right, maybe some people may not agree with it, but I think that the current system is outdated. The way the economy functions, right, definitely needs to be revamped. For
Troubling times, man. We need to fix it.
Exactly. And there's a lot of great minds out there that are coming up with ideas and things like that. Or we could all just hop over to Austrian School of Economics. Yeah? Bitcoin. Easy. So the second part is, given that we know that this whole system is outdated and a lot of things that we're doing are not very efficient, I think that it is on us, really, to take action for the future, right? Most of these people we're dealing with are old people. If you look at government, it's mostly old people, right? People who have made their money from the legacy systems, and I find it hard to believe that they're incentivized to put their best foot forward for the rest of us. Maybe this regime is just reached its peak.
Are you giving a primary speech? Are you going to run for office? Because the primaries are coming up.
I'm thinking of it, man. I'm thinking of it. I'm really thinking of it. Look, so we should go down to City Hall sometimes. I actually went to a couple of meetings while I was out there in Texas. I was thinking of participating in the local government out there in Richardson, Texas. But I never went. But I'm very interested in it, man.
Folks need to get involved in government. That's one action that you can take. Don't just sit back and watch TV, but get involved and educate yourself for sure.
Because I think when you talk about the future, who is going to be leading the future is going to be millennials.
Yeah.
Right. And right now is the time. Millennials are the make up the majority of the workforce right now. Millennials are the leaders right now, and it just seems to me that we are at this point where our elders are running out of steam, and it is time for us to take over.
So millennials need to stop TikToking away and keep getting entertained and get informed and get involved.
And get involved in this, right? Because if you see the way millennials live, it's very different.
Oh yeah, man, I'm pissed. I quit.
Times of the age. Exactly, right? They could just say, I'm pissed. I quit. But guess what? If you find yourself in a future in a blockchain economy, right, where if there is a job, that job can just be posted somewhere on the blockchain on whatever app, and then you can just, let's say I don't know, let's say a street, let's say there's snow, right, and the street needs to be plowed. You could post that job up on the blockchain, and someone somewhere could just be like, I'll do that. And so they accept it. They do the job, right? And then they just, through smart contracts, the money just pays them.
Yeah.
Done, right?
And guess what? It doesn't care if you're black, white, brown, Asian, Mexican, or anything.
Exactly. So that gives
Globally.
you the power. That gives you the power to say, I quit anytime. And that's the mindset that millennials have. This is why many of them are not working.
Government solution. Like government can even release smart contracts out there to the public and get things done much faster.
Yes. So
governance.
How do we get the old heads to embrace this technology?
Oh, they don't even know how to send emails. Remember the old email?
Exactly, right? These people cannot even send email. So, and I think the best way to get them to participate, or at least the best way to change this, is for us who kind of get it, who kind of understand where the future needs to go, to be at the table with these people. You cannot fight your opponent when you're not even in the ring with them.
Right? Talk about it. That's a good one right there. That's a quote.
Write that one down. Put my name next to it.
Put some respect on it.
Exactly, right? So you cannot fight your opponents from outside the ring. So we need to kind of be more involved in these things. And we watched this documentary from Shenzhen, and you see that the Chinese are they're teaching their kids at the age of 8. This is in school, man. So it's like everyone already. Right, they can solder. They're building motherboards. They're doing all of these crazy things, right? By the age of 8. Now, when that group of people grow up, imagine how productive and smart as a society they would be, right? We're seeing the same thing in Palestine. We're seeing the same thing in Israel, which is in
Eastern
a
Europe.
conflict zone. Okay, Eastern Europe as well. And so I think that's one thing that we need to pay attention to. We need to take action on that. We need to educate ourselves, for sure. What else would you say? What is another action you say people can take?
I would say an immediate solution that most people can do to fix their life is that they have to start thinking like old money, which is control your spending, budgets, right? And then when you budget, then you have to extra money, because again, money is energy. Stop throwing your energy away. Stop giving it away. That's one of the first baby steps. Stop throwing away your energy. You've worked so hard to get it. Don't give it away for free. Let your energy build you more energy, but don't eventually abuse it, right? So convert your energy into stuff that you can hold, and then that can give you more energy. Like, of course, go buy some gold, because that's what the rich folks are doing. Go buy some Bitcoin, buy land. Absolutely. Invest your money.
Invest. Yeah.
Join us on public. Just kidding.
Yeah, dude. Join us on public for sure.
Those fees are too high, though. They can work on that.
Listen, man. I think that is going to be a very interesting couple of years going forward. And I think we're definitely going to be on the right side of history at the end of the day.
I'll be optimistic and I'll say, yes, we are on the right side of history.
Yeah, because this is a revolution, whether people realize it or not. And by the time this thing is over, you really have to think about it like, where is America going to be? Because I know that wherever I am, I would like for that place to be up to speed with what is happening in society. So, and the way it is right now, I just don't see America doing what they should be doing. Let me put it that way.
I will say one thing, though, that gives America an advantage is that they did not ban Bitcoin like China did. So that's one edge. But if China makes a move and goes to the Bitcoin standard, oh my God, America is done.
Things will be tough.
America is done.
Phew. That's tough. But again, this is America, bro. We always come out of.
USA,
We always come out of that, right?
USA,
So,
USA.
but I think that is very that's very true, because I mean, dude, when you really look around, because the media in America is just pushing. I mean, these people spend all their time just pushing stuff that is really making people depressed. But when you really start digging and start looking at what other countries are doing, it is scary.
The media is doing what the media is built to do. You accumulate, you get power, and then you manipulate.
Exactly. Right?
But that's humankind, which is so sad. Don't do that. We don't plan to do that once we get up to the accumulation phase that we want to get into. The goal is to just spread good news.
I think at that accumulation phase, what I would like to spend most of my time doing is to help with building out what it would take for us to be in that futuristic state. Because everyone is expecting the future is going to be all high tech and everything, but how are we going to get there?
Yeah.
How are we going to get there?
If everything's accumulated and centralized, and now you're just a freaking sheep, and you basically have to listen.
And you're using infrastructure from ages ago, and it's just not going to work
for them, and they're able to continue to make money.
Same
thing with the banking systems, right? The banking system is still using the ACH.
True, absolutely. But this is the thing. This is where I think places like Africa have an advantage.
I was telling my cousin that the other day, but he thinks Africa is not ready because the leadership, even though we lack the infrastructure of the second revolution, which can get us to this digital revolution faster, the leaders are still old. The millennials are trying to fight the system, but they're basically getting killed out, and they don't have the power and the. I don't want to say they don't have the power. I mean, see what happened in Nigeria. They just shut them all up, and they just killed them, just like that.
Yeah, well, check
and
this
just
out.
went quiet.
Here's the thing. They can buy Bitcoin.
Boom! Come to Stack. So you have to buy Bitcoin.
They can buy Bitcoin. They can buy Bitcoin, and you help them out. Well, I mean, I think, look, man, I really enjoyed this conversation. I think, let us know down in the comments. What do you think we missed? What do you think of this conversation? Would you like to see more like this? I definitely had a fun time doing this. Double O, what do you think?
Always. Just want to thank you for taking the time to watch. I know that was quite a long, interesting conversation.
It was a long one, man.
Want to give you more of this kind of stuff, man. Forget choosing the media. Media does what media does.
Exactly. Hey, look, man, I'm going to close it out with this one, man. Buy Bitcoin, educate yourself. F the rest.
Just do it.
Just do it. Just do it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was a beautiful one. Until next time, Brazen out.
Double O out.